7 bone-chilling true cruise ship horror stories that haunt you at midnight. It was the night every cruise ship passengers feared deep down in their hearts, the kind of night where shadows stretched longer than the truth. As the moonlight flickered across the rolling waves, something sinister loomed on the horizon. Each whisper among the guests on board the SS Windchaser sent chills down spines. What tales of the deep would be unearthed tonight? Stories surfaced from the abyss, swirling like dark smoke. A passenger vanished without a trace, an unexplained scream that echoed through the halls, and the chilling presence of something lurking in the depths of the ocean, eternally hungry. On a particularly still evening, the air felt electric, laced with foreboding. Eyes darted nervously as crew members exchanged glances, their faces pale under the fluorescent lights. John, a seasoned sailor, was spooked, recalling the time a young girl wandered off and didn't return. The ship searched for days, but she was never found. They said her voice could still be heard, haunting the sea corridors, calling out for help. Passengers shared the unsettling tale over cocktails, laughter faded quickly as the weight of fear lingered in the air, thick and suffocating. As the clock struck midnight, the eerie silence shattered with a sudden crash like thunder from the ocean. Guests rushed to the deck, hearts racing. What had shattered their serenity? Waves slapped the hull angrily, but as the crew searched, they found nothing amiss. Then, there was the unsettling sight of fog rolling in, heavy and unnatural, crawling over the water like fingers stretching to claim what was left behind. Whispers of ghost ships, tales of vengeful souls looking to drag the living into the abyss, made their way around the circle of passengers. It was as if the ocean itself held its breath. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the fear swirled and merged with the salty breeze, a scream tore through the silence, piercing like a blade. It was Sarah, a teenager who believed she saw someone dive into the ocean, a figure cloaked in shadows. The crew rushed, panic painted on their faces. They braced for the worst. What if they found something hidden beneath the waves? Something beyond human comprehension. Just as they leaned over the edge, a chilling silence ensued, leaving them frozen with dread. Where had it gone? Did something make its way aboard? The ship rocked gently, as if the ocean itself was mocking their search. But there was still time. What would they unearth before dawn? Would the wind carry away their secrets, or would their horrors surge to the surface? Heartbeats thundered in the silence, each tick of the clock reminding the crew and passengers of the race against the night. Sarah's face was pale, her eyes wide as she pointed toward the murky depths where shadows seemed to swim just beneath the surface. It was there. She cried, shaky fingers trembling at the edge. "Calm down, miss," one of the crew members said, his voice unsteady. But how could anyone feel calm with the night wrapping around them like a suffocating blanket of dread? The fog thickened, coiling around the ship with a mind of its own, creeping onto the deck, blurring their vision and dulling their senses. John's instincts kicked in. He shoved past the guests, scanning the water's surface for any sign of movement. Every ripple felt like a trap, every splash an omen. The other crew members joined him, their faces alert yet steely, masking their unease behind a facade of professionalism. "We need to check the lifeboats," he shouted. As they hurried toward the nearest lifeboat station, a low moan echoed through the air. It was like the lament of the ocean itself, pulling at the edges of their sanity. A guest, meanwhile, clutched Sarah's arm, her face twisted in a mixture of confusion and horror. "What if it's true?" she whispered, her voice cracking. "What if something's out there?" John cast a wary eye toward the sea, swallowing hard. Was it just the tide, or was something far more sinister at play? They all remembered the stories: the missing girl, the faint cries, the shrouded figure. Every tale echoed like a ghost in their minds. They reached the lifeboat, the crew examining equipment. Sarah remained near the edge, her breath quickening as memories of the stories shared earlier flooded her very being. She could almost feel the girl's spirit, an echo of despair mixing with her own rising panic. The fog swirled thick and tight around them, and it was hard to breathe. A sudden crash from above sent everyone jumping. What was that? A man shouted, eyes darting toward the sound. Crew members rushed back to the upper deck, where they found one of the overhead lights flickering violently. Even the electrical systems felt rattled, like the ship itself had come alive, racked by its haunted past. "Stay together!" John barked, his voice cutting through the rising fear. He rounded up the passengers, urging them to form a circle. The chill of the ocean pressed in closer, the air growing thicker, suffused with expectancy. "Listen, if something's out there we need to find it first," he began, but he couldn't shake the tremor in his voice. Suddenly, a figure materialized from the fog, eerily still and draped in what seemed like a wet, flowing garment, its presence drenched in misery. Gasps rippled through the crowd, the temperature plummeting. They all stumbled back, fear rooting them to the spot as the ethereal figure pointed toward the ocean, its face obscured. "Last chance," John whispered, gripping a nearby life vest. "Are we going to face this?" The crowd hesitated, minds racing, hearts pounding. A heartbeat later, Sarah, her voice barely above a whisper, stepped forward. "We can't let it take another one. We need to know." And just like that, they found themselves standing on the precipice of a choice that could haunt them forever. What awaited them on the other side of that fog? What secrets did the ocean hold? The tension thickened, a battle of will and fear pulsating through them. As they pressed forward toward the fading apparition, the question lingers: would they break the cycle of terror, or would they become part of the legend? Dawn was on the horizon, but would they survive to see it? Or would something inescapable pull them into the abyss before the light could touch their souls? As they edged closer to the figure, an icy wind swept over the deck, sending a shiver through everyone gathered. The figure turned slightly, revealing just enough of a featureless face to send a fresh wave of terror crashing over the group. Heartbeats quickened, breaths hitched in throats. "What is it pointing at?" A woman cried, her voice laced with panic. They all leaned closer, eyes straining against the darkness, muscles taut with fear. The fog swirled, shifting as if alive, and in the dim light, John saw it a glimmer beneath the surface. He felt his stomach drop. It was hard to discern, but it looked like a body, pale and motionless, drifting just out of reach. "We need to get a lifeboat ready," he shouted, urgency lacing every word. "We need to investigate now." The crew sprang into action, but the guests hesitated, casting fearful glances between the ocean and one another. The ghostly figure remained steadfast at the edge, as if standing guard over whatever lay beneath. "It's a trap," someone murmured, a bleak realization cutting through the rising panic. "No!" Sarah yelled, stepping forward again. "We can't turn back. We can't let fear decide for us." Her words resonated, striking chords among the group. They felt the weight of her plea, the anguish of the story woven into her resolve. John turned to her, admiration mixed with anxiety. "We need to be smart about this," he warned, but even he felt a pull, an urge to uncover the truth. Before he could say more, the fog thickened once again, wrapping around them like a funeral shroud. Multiple shadows began forming within the mist, swirling shapes appearing to emerge from the depths. The crew moved faster, straps snapping against the lifeboat as they worked to lower it, frantically fighting against the oppressive gloom, and just as they stepped close to the edge, an agonized cry broke through the chaos, rising above them like a banshee's wail. It sent a jolt through the passengers. John froze, eyes wide with terror. "What was that?" he whispered, his heart racing. "Help! Please, help!" The voice was faint but pleading. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. It was a child, a small girl's cry, soaked in desperation. Over there. Sarah pointed toward the source of the noise, visions of the missing girl flooding her mind. A rush of adrenaline propelled them forward, leaving the lifeboat amid all the chaos, drawn into the dark like moths to a flame. As they neared the edge of the boat, they could see the outline of something struggling in the water, dark rays of dread shooting through their bones. "Hold on!" John shouted. Before they could fully rationalize their next move, they had leaned over the side, desperate to rescue the unseen figure, and then, as if the sea itself conspired against them, a powerful wave surged up, crashing against the side of the boat and sending them sprawling backward. Gasps of shock filled the air, and everyone scrambled to their feet, eyes wide with shock. In that moment, the ghostly figure flickered, then melted into the fog, leaving behind an echoing silence that bore down upon them, heavier than before. The cries faded, and the dark water swallowed its secrets once more. "Did you see that?" John panted, glancing at Sarah's haunted expression. "What just happened?" But before they could contemplate what they had just experienced, a hand gripped John's shoulder from behind. A crewmate was staring at him, wide-eyed. "There's someone on board." "We're not alone." Dread rushed through him like ice, the revelation sinking in. More than the shadow in the water, something was waiting for them in the fog, something more sinister yet unseen. "Who?" he managed to ask, and the crewman shook his head, fear shadowing his face. "I don't know, but we have to find out. Before it finds us." As the dawn approached, cloaked in a haze of uncertainty, they braced for the storm of darkness that loomed ahead. Would they uncover the truth hidden in the shadows? Or were they destined to join the lost souls that haunted these waters? The deeper they went, the more danger awaited. A chill swept over the deck as John's heart raced. The revelation of someone else being aboard made his skin crawl. A shadowy figure loomed in the fog, and any remnants of courage began to crumble. "Where is this person?" John asked, his voice barely a whisper, his eyes scanning the thick mist that seemed to wrap around them like fingers of dread. The crewman tightened his grip on John's shoulder, glancing furtively over his shoulder as if expecting something to emerge from the darkness at any moment. "I don't know," he stammered. "I just saw a silhouette in the mess hall." Panic lurked in his eyes. "We need to regroup. Gather everyone together." "No." Sarah interjected, her voice sharp with urgency. "We can't just wait here. If there's someone on this ship, they could be in danger or worse." The temperature dropped again, sinking further into unsettling tension. As if summoned by her words, a clang echoed from the bowels of the ship. It sounded like metal against metal, jutting through the fog as it ricocheted in their ears. The crewman's eyes widened in horror. "Someone's down there," he gasped, backing away toward the lifeboat. "Come on," John urged, heart pounding. "We can't hide. We need to go check." Another noise reverberated, this time more like a low, mournful wail, sending chills crawling up their spines. The crew fumbled with flashlights, beams slicing through the thick mist but revealing nothing more than swirling shadows. Every lingering corner of the ship felt alive with breathless suspense. "Stay close," John instructed firmly, trying to muster some semblance of authority. They filed into the dimly lit corridor, each footstep echoing, a stark reminder of their vulnerability. A feeble flicker of light hovered ahead, pulsing like a heartbeat. "Do you see that?" Sarah breathed, pointing ahead, her face illuminated with fear and determination. The closer they moved, the more dread twisted in John's stomach. When they turned the corner into the mess hall, the sight sent their blood running cold. Tables were overturned, chairs scattered. A haunting silence drowned out their footsteps. Shadows stretched long under the erratically flickering lights, ripe with a presence that thickened the air. "What happened here?" a guest whispered, eyes darting around as if threatening figures might spring from the walls. "I don't know," John replied, but in a deeper part of his mind, he sensed they weren't alone. The feeling of being watched crept into their midst. Suddenly, something shifted in the corner. A figure, small and huddled, nestled against the wall. A little girl, trembling, tears streaked her dirty face. "Help me," she whimpered, her voice barely a sigh amidst the tension. Sarah rushed forward. "It's okay. I'm here." The girl flinched at first, but the mothering energy radiating from Sarah was undeniable. "Where are your parents?" John asked, glancing around in case something lurked behind them. The girl pointed toward the far end of the room. They went to find the captain." Before John could ask more, a heavy thud echoed from the hall behind them, followed by an agonizing scream. A rush of fear surged through the group. "They're in danger," a crewmate cried, panic rupturing their calm facade. "Let us go. Move!" John yelled, but as they turned to flee, the air shifted once more. Shadows coiled tightly around the entrance, thickening like a curtain, blocking their only path to safety. "What now?" Sarah gasped, breathing heavily, her hand gripping John's tightly. In the heavy silence, the girl's voice rose again. "It's coming." What was coming? The weight of her words hung in the air, thick as the fog that enveloped them, and they realized they were facing more than just a haunted ship. They were in a web spun by malevolence, caught in the gaze of something ancient, waiting for just the right moment to strike. As darkness descended, hearts raced faster than ever, clutching onto one undeniable truth: the true horror was just beginning. The air suddenly turned electric, thick with an impending dread that coiled around them tighter than the fog. John's mind raced. They were trapped, ensnared in a nightmare that had only just begun. "Move back," he shouted, instinctively raising his flashlight against the wall of darkness pressing closer. For a moment, it felt like they were inside a dream, one where reality twisted and tortured every hope into another fear. "Help!" The girl's voice cut through the tension. The sound was raw, desperate. John turned back to her, his heart in his throat. "Don't worry. We'll get you out." But as he spoke, more noises erupted from the shadows. Footsteps, uneven and heavy. They echoed like a funeral march, filled with a desperate intent. "What is happening?" Sarah whispered, her grip tightening around John's arm. "I don't know," he replied, a tremor in his voice. "Just stay close." They backed away slowly, but the shadows shifted more alive than before, seeming to pull the very light into their depths. The child's sobs cut short as a cold breeze swept through the mess hall, sending a shiver down John's spine. Then, something flickered, a glimpse of movement just beyond the circle of their flashlights. "Did you see that?" A crew member gasped, pointing toward the flickering light. "It's nothing, just shadows." John lied, hoping to suppress the growing fear in their minds. However, his own heart pounded with trepidation. Shadows couldn't wail, could they? Shadows didn't have voices. A figure emerged slowly from the dark, pale, gaunt, its eyes black voids. The resemblance to a human was disturbing. It moved with an unsettling grace, as if the air around it rippled. A chill settled around their bones. The little girl pressed against Sarah, shivering. "What do you want?" John demanded, feebly holding the flashlight towards the intruder. It raised its hands, long fingers curling like claws. "Help me," it echoed mockingly, a voice that sent a chill down their spines. Memories flickered in John's mind, images of family, hope now twisted into something grotesque. "Run!" he shouted, but as he turned, the wall of shadows thickened, creating a barrier that ensnared them entirely. "What about the others?" Sarah cried, eyes wide with panic. "There's no time." The air clamored with anguish as the creature glided closer, its breath a mist that chilled their skin. The cries of the others rang through the corridors, desperate cries for help that amplified the terror sealing their fate. John could feel it, the malevolence that pulsed, waiting to consume them whole. "We need to find another way." They darted to the side, desperate to escape the grasping shadows and the encroaching figure. But the mess hall was a maze, a cursed labyrinth of overturned furniture and despair. Then, they stumbled upon the exit door, its handle cold and unyielding, almost as if it were a trick of the light itself. "Push!" he grunted, feeling the weight of dread pressing behind them. Sarah and the crew member struggled, heaving against the obstinate door while the darkness loomed threateningly around them. Without warning, the door swung miraculously open, revealing the dimly lit corridor beyond. Hope flared momentarily, but as they rushed through, the darkness lashed out, tendrils snaking along their ankles, pulling them back into despair. No. Not again. John screamed, fighting against the grip that tightened around his legs. But then he caught Sarah's eyes, determination burning through her fear. "We're not going down without a fight." Her voice instilled courage like a beacon. They turned to face the looming shadows, hearts pounding together in unity. The shadows writhed, formulating into something monstrous. It was time to confront their fear, to break the cycle of horror, to uncover the truth entwined within the ship's haunted existence. Suddenly, the little girl gasped. "The captain. He knows." Just then, a sound reverberated from deep within the ship, a hollow, ominous chant that twisted through the air like a dark symphony. What truth lay buried beneath the echoes of anguish, and would it be there? Salvation or their doom? As they prepared to charge into the unknown, the darkness loomed larger than life, ready to consume them whole. With a shared glance, they steeled themselves against the pulsating dread that enveloped them. John took a step forward, fueled by adrenaline. "We can't let it trap us here," he shouted, his voice echoing fiercely against the walls. The corridor stretched out like a riddle, whispers ricocheting eerily down the hallway. The chanting seemed to warp around them, twisting into a ghastly melody. Each step forward felt like a descent into insanity. They moved quickly, but the shadows clung, smearing darkness along the walls, almost alive. "Look!" Sarah pointed toward an old crew poster tacked to the bulkhead. It depicted the captain in sharp whites and blues, a bold smile plastered across his face. But the eyes, they were the same black voids as the creature. What does that mean? John's heart raced. They stumbled upon something crucial. Maybe there is something upstairs. We might find the captain, he could help. Or he could be part of this. A doubt flickered in Sarah's voice. Just then, the little girl whimpered, breaking the momentary resolve. "I want my mommy," she cried, fresh tears streaming down her cheeks. John turned to her, pulling her into a fierce hug. "We'll get you home. I promise." But even he was unsure of his promise. An icy draft swept through the twisted passage, and the shadows intensified, morphing into grotesque figures bristling with menace. "Stay together!" John yelled. They pressed forward, every heartbeat echoing louder than the last. Finally, they approached a staircase leading upwards, the wood creaking under their weight. An unearthly chill settled in the air as John flicked his flashlight toward the top. The beam danced, revealing a door that looked more like a portal into another world, wooden and imposing, carved with spirals and glyphs that seemed to pulsate. "This must be it," John breathed, but as they reached for the handle, the chanting grew louder, a discordant chorus that throbbed in his bones. Help was never an option here, a voice hissed from the shadows, slicing through the cacophony. The air turned icy, and the thick shadows around them coalesced into a single horrifying figure. "Get back!" John yelled, shoving Sarah and the girl behind him. The blackness surged forward, tendrils lashing at him, and grasping for control. "No, stay away!" The creature's face emerged, and the resemblance to the captain morphed into a sinister grin. "You dare defy the call of the abyss?" It taunted, its voice a chilling whisper that seemed to echo in their minds. "But we just want to escape," Sarah cried, tears glistening in her wide eyes. "Escape?" The figure laughed, a sound like splintering wood. "This ship is your cage. The captain knows all, and you are bound to him. It's your destiny." "Not our destiny," John said defiantly, shaking with anger and fear. "We refuse to be trapped." Then with a surge of hope, he thought of the truth the girl had referenced. "You know where the captain is?" he demanded, his voice rising above the chaos. "Take us to him." Just then, the floor vibrated beneath their feet, shaking violently, dust falling from the ceiling as the chanting reached a fever pitch. The shadows hissed, retreating momentarily, giving them a glimpse of a shimmering light coming from beyond the door. Now! John yelled, seizing the moment. They charged through the doorway just as the shadows lunged. Light engulfed them, and for a fleeting heartbeat, the terror fell away. But the shadows chased closely, clawing at their heels. As the light dimmed to a faint glow, they found themselves in a vast chamber lined with mirrors, reflecting countless twisted versions of themselves. Each echoing their fears, their sorrows. "Where are we?" Sarah whispered, trembling. Suddenly, a laugh erupted from the darkness behind them. "You think you can outrun your fate?" John's chest tightened. The mirror images stepped forward, their distorted faces winking maliciously. Despite their fear, an unsettling thrill coursed through him. What were they about to uncover? The shadows surged forward again, and with each instant, a sense of dread thickened in the air. Would they finally confront the captain, or would the shadows claim their souls forever? The air crackled with anticipation as they braced themselves for what lay ahead. The chamber pulsed with a life of its own, the reflective surfaces flickering like candle flames in a wind. Each mirror cast back not just their images but their fears multiplied, twisting their faces into grotesque parodies of terror. John's heart raced, pounding away the hazy grip of uncertainty. "Stay close!" he shouted, eyes darting. The laughter echoed again, cruel and knowing. It seemed to bounce off the walls, taunting them, daring them to move. Who's there?" Sarah's voice trembled, clutching the little girl protectively. But the response was only more laughter, followed by a deep, rumbling voice. "You are so eager to find the captain," it mocked, "but first, you must face yourselves. What you see here, these shadows, are just the beginning." With that, one of the mirrors rippled like water. A figure appeared, an eerily familiar silhouette, a twisted version of the captain, eyes hollow and filled with a darkness that stung. "Are you ready to join me?" it rasped, voice a chilling echo of command. "Get away from us!" John yelled, fists clenched. But his own reflection grinned back, his expression warped with fear. The image seemed to flare, shaking the very room. "What are you?" he demanded, backing away instinctively. "I am what you have always feared." The shadowed captain's grin widened, and John could almost hear the whispers meld into his own thoughts, clinging to fragments of doubt. "I am the darkness you refuse to see." John's breath quickened, panic surging. He needed to protect Sarah and the girl. "We're not afraid of you," he shouted defiantly, realizing that confrontation was necessary, though dread clamped down on his throat. "Not afraid." The captain laughed, and with a wave of his shadowed hand, the mirrors twisted again. Each one showed a scene from their past failures, losses, moments of shame that burned brightly against the flickering shadows. They were trapped in their own history, condemned to relive the worst of it. "No! Stop!" Sarah cried, stumbling back, tears streaking down her cheeks. "This isn't real." But the reflections were relentless, dragging them deeper into the nightmare. Each echo sliced at their resolve. John stumbled against one of the mirrors, his heart heavy as it revealed a moment from his childhood, a time when he had failed to stand up for a friend, and the shame still shackled him. "Face it. Embrace the darkness," the captain shouted, his voice rising above the cacophony as the walls reverberated with the shadows. John felt a warm hand on his shoulder. It was the girl. "You're not like them," she whispered, her innocent eyes shining through fear. "You're my hero." The simple faith gave him strength. He turned to Sarah, who was still lost in her panic. "Sarah. We have to fight. This isn't real. It's a trap." The shadows lurched, desperately clawing at them, but John released a surge of energy fueled by hope. "Together," he yelled, and eyed the mirrors. "We won't let this define us." Just then, the shadows froze, a momentary hesitation in their assault. It was a crack, an opening. John and Sarah moved in unison. We choose who we are. They shouted, voices fused in defiance. With a rush of willpower, they slammed their hands against their corresponding reflections. The impact sent ripples through the chamber, and the mirrors began to crack. The captain's laughter turned to a shriek of rage, vibrating through the air, the ground shook beneath them as shards flew, each cracking reflection letting light seep into their world. Escape it, escape us. The shadows screeched, the weight of despair tumbling backward. As the last shard splintered and exploded outward, they were thrust forward into blinding light. The echoes faded, but the weight of the captain's promise loomed ominously. They landed on a dingy floor, panting and disoriented. They looked around another room, this one hazy and filled with an unsettling fog. Where are we now? Sarah whispered, dread creeping back. A low, gravelly voice echoed from the shadows ahead. Welcome to your next trial, little fish. A shiver ran down John's spine. Who was this new threat? And could they truly escape the captain's hold? They had fought off one nightmare, but the next loomed just out of sight. The room was heavy with tension, and John's instinct screamed at him to move. The fog swirled around them, thick and disorienting, making it hard to see the edges of the space. Just ahead, that voice echoed again, dark and mocking. Where are we? Sarah murmured, her apprehension palpable. The little girl clutched her tighter, her tiny fingers digging into Sarah's shirt. Just a step further from the nightmare, John answered, though he couldn't shake the unease creeping under his skin. Faint shadows flickered in and out of the fog, and every breath felt like inhaling dread itself. Ah, the brave heroes, the voice taunted. You think you've escaped, but here, the shadows will reveal your greatest failures, or will they? Maybe only your endless nightmares will. Then, from the smoky edges, a form broke free. It emerged, visceral and grotesque, an amalgamation of fear and regret depicted with cruel precision. John couldn't quite make out its features yet, but he could feel the malignancy radiating from it. With a flick of its hand, the fog thickened, swirling as if participating in the performance of their despair. You move on through life, trying to outrun what's inside, it hissed, but it's all a game. You'll see soon enough. John pushed forward, his heart thumping loud in his chest. Show us what you've got then. He shouted, trying to mask his fear with bravado. We won't fall for your tricks. The creature laughed, a sound that grated on his nerves. Fall or swim, these are your only choices here. It waved again, and the shadows around them shifted, revealing horrifying imagery. Each figure that danced in the fog carried the weight of their past. Sarah seeing her first love walk away, tears streaming down her face, John confronted with deceit that shattered friendships, faces twisted in anger and shame. Enough! He yelled, clenching his fists, but then, from the gloom, a new scene forged itself. They were no longer alone. A group of people, friends and family from their past, loomed before them, ghost-like but fully formed, sadness reflecting in their eyes. Why didn't you save me? A whisper echoed from one figure, a friend lost long ago, a wave of guilt clawing at John's heart. No. He covered his ears, rejecting the memories that threatened to suffocate him. This can't be real. You're just shadows. Exactly. The creature shrieked, jumping forward. Shadows of your own making. You think you can create joy without owning your pain? It's time to confront your fears head-on. Sarah trembled, but she held tightly to the little girl. We have fought through worse. We won't give in. Suddenly, a bright light pierced the fog. It flickered in and out, drawing tension from the shadows around them. John saw it as a beacon, a reminder that hope still existed. That light, it's our way out. But the creature recoiled, its features darkening. You think you can escape? I am every fear you've ever set aside. I can't be vanquished with mere hope. As the light tried pushing back the darkness, John felt an odd power surge within him, bolstered by the memories of all he had triumphed over. We choose to confront you. He roared, determination flooding his veins. With one final surge, he and Sarah, joined by the unwavering little girl, leaped toward the light, arms outstretched to sever the grip of the shadows once and for all. The room trembled as light clashed with darkness. Torn between different forces, everything shook violently at first, and then, in that moment, John felt the grip of shadows begin to slip, a crack forming between realms. Did they stand a chance at breaking through? The fog began to lift, but just as hope surged, a deafening silence fell, thick and binding. "Foolish children," the creature wailed, a spine-chilling echo that rattled their bones. "You think you can escape the unrelenting darkness that is me?" With the last remnants of the fog fading, they stood on the precipice of uncertainty, only one thought echoing through John's mind. What lay on the other side of that light, and would it be freedom or another trap? Their fate hung precariously in the balance. The trembling ground became their only anchor as the fog receded. The light expanded like a burgeoning sunrise, illuminating their surroundings. John's heart raced, filled with adrenaline and fear. They were on the edge of something monumental, but they could still feel the creature's unyielding presence. "Do you feel that?" Sarah whispered, her eyes wide as she looked toward the glowing fissure. "It's beautiful and terrifying all at once." "Yeah," John replied, his voice low. "It's like we're staring into a void or maybe a doorway." The creature writhed at the limit of the light, its grotesque features twisting with rage. "You cannot outrun your sins," it screeched, the sound rattling their bones. "You can jump into the abyss, but it will only swallow you deeper." With each swear, the light flickered, almost responding to the creature's threats. John took a step toward the glow, instinctively signaling for Sarah and the little girl to follow. "We have to trust it. This is our only chance." "John, wait." Sarah's voice trembled, pulling him back for a moment. She looked at the phantoms that hovered outside the light, their discontent heavy in the air. "What if this isn't freedom? What if it leads us into more nightmares?" But John couldn't let fear hold him back. He felt the weight of all their past failures, the friendships lost, the love abandoned. Each loss was not just a shadow of regret, but a line that tied them all together. "We've faced worse," he insisted, his voice firm with conviction. "We have to confront this, one way or another." Without another thought, John surged ahead, pulling Sarah and the girl with him. They dove into the light, and for a moment, everything exploded in shapeless brightness. He felt warmth flood through him, banishing the cold grip of despair. But it didn't last. A sudden jolt tore through him as if he had collided with a wall. Darkness surged back, shrouding them in icy tendrils. They were no longer in the sanctuary of light but suspended in a vast emptiness, disoriented, their surroundings eerily shifting beneath them. Where are we?" Sarah's voice came out as a fearful whisper. Panic surged in her tone as shadows danced at the edge of their vision. The little girl clutched tightly to Sarah, her small frame quaking with fear. "I don't know," John confessed, swallowing hard. His heart pounded as his instincts screamed at him to run, but there was nowhere to go. "We've crossed something, but what?" "Ah, welcome to the void," a taunting voice echoed, weaving through the darkness, crawling under their skin. It was the same mocking tone, colder than ice. "Here, your deepest fears can manifest like never before. Are you ready to truly confront what you've hidden away?" Images began to swirl around them, flickering like the dying embers of a fire. The blurred figures morphed into nightmarish visages, their faces warped in suffering and despair. John recognized them, recurring from their past. Friends. Lovers. Lost dreams, all twisted into horrific specters of judgment. "No!" he shouted, anguish coursing through his body. He wanted to scream, to fight against it, but he felt paralyzed by the weight of their glares. "You're not real. You can't hurt us anymore." The shadows morphed closer, their fingers barely brushing against John's skin, burning with guilt. The voice laughed wickedly, fusing their cries of anguish into one resounding sound. "Are you sure? After all this time. Can you truly let go? In a surge of determination, John reached for the little girl, feeling her warmth a reminder of innocence in this nightmare. Sarah, we have to stand together. He cried, clinging to the flicker of hope. Together, Sarah echoed, her voice gaining strength. We can do this. With renewed fervor, they faced the oncoming storm of shadows, ready to push back against the darkness. This time, they wouldn't shy away from their fears or regrets. They would confront them, arm in arm, just as the horror loomed larger, the ground beneath them shook. A piercing white light exploded from within the void. Was it a way out, or another trap? Meant to ensnare them? Push through. John bellowed, pulling Sarah and the little girl forward, desperate to shatter the grasping shadows. As the light surged, they lunged again, not knowing what waited on the other side. Would it be salvation or doom? The choice was theirs, and it threatened to unravel everything. Would they find their way home, or would they vanish into the endless void? And in that crucial moment, a chilling realization struck John. What if the true nightmare wasn't the shadows lurking around them, but the darkness within themselves? John felt a surge of understanding, a light sparking in the depths of his harrowed soul. The shadows were more than just ghosts of the ship, they were reflections of everything he had avoided, buried deep inside. This is our fight, our choice, he declared, his voice resonating with newfound conviction. The figures loomed closer, their anguished faces twisting in mockery, but instead of retreating, John held his ground. We're not here to relive our failures, he shouted, we're here to break the cycle. Beside him, Sarah and the little girl squeezed his hands, grounding him further. Their shared determination shimmered against the dark, they were a unit, an anchor amidst the storm. Before they could act, the shadows twisted violently, screaming as if threatened. You think you can defy me? Hissed the voice, echoing through the void like thunder. You can't escape what's inside you. Watch us. Sarah yelled, her voice fierce as fire, burning away remnants of doubt. They pushed forward, inching closer to the light now radiating fiercely ahead. Together. John exclaimed, their hands clasped tightly as they broke through the tumultuous wave of fear, moving towards that blinding glow. The shadows writhed, conjuring memories of friend-esque disappointment, a lover-esque goodbye, moments of lost courage. John felt the weight of their gazes, the shame clawing at him, but he stood firm. I'm sorry. He shouted, the words exploding from his chest. But I won't let you hold me prisoner anymore. With each statement of defiance, fragments of the past began crystallizing into brilliance, unraveling a symphony of understanding beneath the weight of guilt. One by one, the ghastly figures dimmed, fading under the intensity of their unity. Let it go. Sarah cried, voice rising in harmony with John's. The little girl nodded, her innocent spirit igniting hope. At that, the figures evaporated, the shadows melting into trails of mist as the light surged, growing ever brighter. We are not the sum of our mistakes. John bellowed, feeling hope weave through their grasp. And finally, as a crescendo of light burst forth, he realized they were reclaiming their power. With one final push, they surged towards the radiant beacon. As they collided with the light, it engulfed them entirely, wrapping around them with warmth like the embrace of the sun after a long night. And then silence blossomed. John opened his eyes, blinking against the gentle brightness. They stood on the deck of the SS Windchaser, the ocean stretching out before them, calm and vast. The sun hung low on the horizon, painting the sky a vivid orange, the world alive with possibilities that he felt the little girl tugging at his sleeve, her face lit with awe. Did we do it? She asked, voice small but vibrant with hope. Yes, John breathed, heart racing with joy. We faced our fears and we made it. Sarah turned to him, her eyes sparkling with the same realization. We did this together. They both looked around, witnessing the peaceful ocean that had moments ago held so much horror. The shadows were gone, and with them, the grip of despair that had haunted them for so long. A soft breeze rustled through the ship, carrying with it a sense of freedom, a release from burdens they had carried far too long. "Let us go get that girl's parents," John said, voice steady and strong. "And then let us make the most of this life." As they walked together, laughter spilled from their lips, echoes of what had once been confined to their memories. The fear was gone, replaced by growth and resilience, and the love that had blossomed in the face of despair shone brighter than ever. As the crew gathered back on deck, John felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. This experience had reshaped them all, forged bonds that could never be broken. They would carry this night with them, each shadow, each revelation a testament to the strength of the human spirit, and as they sailed toward the horizon, the sun dipped low, illuminating the world with the promise of tomorrow. They were alive, united, and ready to write their own story, free from the chains of the past. In that moment of serenity, as the waves lapped gently against the ship, the weight of their haunting experiences detached, leaving behind only the echoes of hope and the freedom to begin anew. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion.